In 2007, a photographer asked a young football star to hold a newborn baby for a photo. 19 years later, that baby was lifting a World Cup trophy of his own. This is the story of Lamine Yamal, the kid from a small apartment who became the youngest superstar the game has ever seen. In the summer of 2007, in a hospital near Barcelona, a boy was born who would grow up faster than almost anyone in the history of football. He grew up in Rocafonda, a modest working-class neighborhood, raised by parents from Morocco and Equatorial Guinea, who worked hard to give him every chance. When his parents separated, he split his time between two cities. But through it all, one thing never changed. A ball was always at his feet.
At just 4 years old, he joined his first local club, already dribbling past kids twice his age like they weren't even there.
At just 6 years old, scouts from one of the biggest academies in the world came to watch him play, and they didn't need long to make a decision. He joined the same famous academy that had once produced some of the greatest players in football history, and he began racing through the age groups faster than anyone before him. He was frequently moved up to compete against boys years older than him, and instead of struggling, he simply adapted and kept excelling.
By his early teens, the club's own head coach had seen enough. He wanted this kid training with the senior professionals, years ahead of schedule.
In the spring of 2023, at just 15 years old, he stepped onto the pitch for his first ever professional match and broke a record that had stood for over 100 years. He didn't look nervous for a single second, playing with a calm and confidence that made him look like he had been doing this for years. Within a year, he became a regular starter, and the record-breaking didn't stop. Youngest scorer, youngest starter, youngest assist maker, one milestone after another. After every goal, he raised his hand with a simple gesture, a quiet tribute to the neighborhood postal code where he grew up, refusing to forget where he came from. In the summer of 2024, still only 16 years old, he stepped onto the international stage at the European Championship and immediately became the youngest player in the tournament's history. Days later, he curled in a stunning goal to become the youngest goal scorer in the tournament's history, a moment that made the entire football world stop and take notice. That summer, his team went on to win the entire tournament, and a teenager who wasn't even old enough to drive was already a continental champion. That fall, he was awarded the sport's top prize for the best young player in the world, a fitting honor for a season that had rewritten the record books. By 2026, still barely 19 years old, he had already been named among the finalists for football's most prestigious individual award, the youngest nominee the sport had ever seen. That same year, he helped lead his national team all the way to the final of the biggest tournament in football, the World Cup itself. When the final whistle blew, his team had won, and at just 19 years old, the boy from Rocafonda was a world champion. From a modest apartment in Rocafonda, to a baby photo with a legend, to a record-breaking rise nobody saw coming, Lamine Yamal's story is still being written, and he's still only just getting started.
If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to Onside, because the next legend is always younger than you think.